Hello, Armchair Warriors, and welcome back. This is the second episode of my Japanese campaign in Hearts of Iron 3 using the Black Ice modification version 10.43. For the very first day, all we really did was just go through all the decisions that are available, save the game a few times here just to make sure that I wasn't going to lose anything. So everything's going along pretty good there. I'm just actually continuing play at this point in time. I haven't exited out of the game and gotten back in. Whenever I do start a brand new game, I always go forward about an hour or three and just save the game at that point before doing anything, just because in some cases the game may crash because of the modification here, the Black Ice mod. Uh, when I first started this campaign here, I actually had to restart the game 4 times before finally I was able to get a successful save going. But in this case here, we're pretty much done with the first day. We're just going to let things kind of roll here until we start seeing some events like this. Another reason why I'm not building anything too, and a few other research tech that I didn't go for just yet, because there's still some events and decisions that need to be selected in order to fully staff out everything in this game here. This is the ship and engine focuses that will determine um, what sort of research I need to go forward with, and also how my builds are, different planes and armor and things of that kind of nature. For Japan, I'm not going to worry about tanks. There's going to be 3 armor units that are already in existence that will get some additional brigades to help bring them up to full staffing. But I don't really worry about how good my armor units are. Um, we do, though, have a great emphasis on air power. The CAG units, plus also the interceptors and my bombers, all need a little bit of a boost here. Um, I try to role play with my games, and with Japan, I try to stay fairly historical. Might make some changes to how I prefer to play it and things of that kind of nature. But for Japan, I stick with a light aircraft. I don't choose heavy aircraft unless I'm playing Germany. So we do stick with the light aircraft, and I believe it's gasoline engine because that does provide a bit of a speed bonus over the diesel engines, even though diesel engine has a better combat battle speed. So we do stick with the light aircraft and gasoline engines, and I think it is it cast armor? Yeah, I think it's cast armor that I utilize. We can check real quick with our tech industry. Steel armor casting, you can see Japan's already at 1934, but welding, they're back in 1918. So that kind of tells me already, and we're going to go ahead and start researching that anyway, because I do want to at least get that going. Um, that does tell me that Japan, of course, tends to stick with casting as opposed to welding. So this selection here, you can see light aircraft, gasoline, cast armor. That does provide some bonuses overall, but our heart attack takes a bit of a hit. If I had chosen welding, which that actually could be a good, a good thing to do anyway, armor build speed takes a bit of a hit, but and a heart attack looks pretty good. But again, I try to stay a little bit of role play here, and we'll just stick with this choice here because otherwise, going for welding, that's going to take a little bit here to try to get. So let me think that over a little bit here. If I can choose engine welded, I don't care about the armor build speed taking a hit because we're not really building armor units. Yeah, the heavy aircraft, you can see it has a little bit of some extra bonuses. The diesel as well has some other bonuses that the gasoline does not. Um, it would be playing ahistorical in this case here, but I don't care about the armor build speed. So let's just say that the Japanese actually change tact a bit and decide that they're going to start welding uh, their their units. Plus, also we can start building steel refinery with welding, so that's a good bonus here too. Okay, and then for our ships, we go with Vicar. I go with the historical usage here, the Vicar steel. As it says here, they use copper instead of nickel. As I indicated with the strategic resources as well, we want to buy copper because of this as well. If we get zinc, well, copper alone helps provide a metal uh, production bonus. But if you get it with zinc, that negates the overall negative that you see when it comes to metal production. So we are going to go ahead and choose Vickers here. For Japan, I tend to go with a more historical means and say that it's an open hanger, not a closed hanger that they utilize. Um, I do think there's some tech that I can research that provides an additional CAG wing for all of my carriers. If you select open hanger, closed hanger is pretty nice because it does provide a little bit of that protection that your carriers do need, but I'll just go with the Vickers and open hanger for now. So rocking along at this point, you can see all my fleets moving around. My fuel is going to get impacted because of that, but once everybody settles down, stops moving, my fuel's just going to go up. Alrighty, so we're on day 2 at this point in time. We built the rail network, as I said. Even though we do see a negative IC, you can see it here. Pre-war level rail is at negative 2.5. We do see an IC efficiency, which actually outweighs a malice that I had taken for my leadership history, or leadership story rather. We also see some supply throughput, so that's good. Um, let's see here. We have some shipyards and other things that will be appearing. I don't really care about the automotive factories here or tank factories. Those just don't have anything for me here. Okay. And probably because of the lack of strategic resources, I know because of the Vickers steel we've selected, if we get copper, this negative will go away. The naval build speed will be as it should be. So it is as it is. We'll go ahead and take that here. Nice to have all these shipyards. These help in their associated speeds as well. You see with the research labs, we have a research efficiency of 4%. Like I said, one of the leadership story options I had chosen for like my mother, I saw in a game where because she was a scientist, we got 2 extra research labs. So I'm hoping that'll happen as well too. We have all these factories here. We have 4% officer recruitment right now with the military colleges, so that's good. And we need to worry about our budget. So we need to get up to 2,000. Actually, we need to get above that. I want to get above about 5 or 6,000 bucks here. But we need to get above 2,000 because if you dip below 2,000, you get some pretty severe malices. People don't like you. You start seeing a dissent hit and things of that kind of nature. We have a railway gun. Actually, I think this will be the second one we're going to build. Because I think, is there a railway gun already here? There's a unit, this guy here. We'll take a look at all these here momentarily. Oh, these are all good things, all good things, all good events. Yes, so we do have a unit that's already here that has a railway artillery. And he's heading towards the front line. Eventually, down the road, he'll be used to break open sieges on cities. I'll keep him here in China when it comes to war with the UK. He'll go against Hong Kong, but we do have the option of getting a second railway gun, I believe. I think that starts in Japan, and I want to say that is pretty handy for the Japanese because not only do you have Hong Kong, but you got Singapore, and then you've also got some. Difficult areas to attack into here. But I think for this campaign here, I'm not going to take the IC malice and the loss of resources. I'm just going to try to stick with the one railway gun that I have and see how well I do there. So we're going to say no need. Let's get some of these other events taken care of. Scripted invasions, yes, we want this. The AI does invasions, naval invasions pretty good anyway. But this decision will help create these naval invasion events based upon other criteria. The German invasion of Norway, for example, I think happens only if Germany has Denmark. For the AI, that is not for you. You as the player, I don't believe see any scripted invasions, but I could be wrong. There may actually be some scripted invasions that appear for the player as well. I seem to think one Japanese campaign I did, I had a scripted invasion for New Guinea here, Guadalcanal, and a couple of the islands, where I got a couple of freebie units for that. So it's quite possible that I'm wrong on this, and that this does happen for you, or for you as a player as well. But it does help boost the AI's capabilities when it comes to naval invasions. And since most of this game is played on water or around water, you do need to worry about invasions. So we'll say okay on that. Here's the long lance. This gives you torpedo gain of 10,000. That's just historical. Japanese had probably the best torpedoes in the world at the beginning of the war, up through 42 or 43, I believe. Their torpedoes were just not matched by anybody. The U.S. in fact had terrible torpedoes beginning part of the war, and only eventually, after a few naval campaigns, submarine campaigns, their research determined we need better torpedoes. So we're going to say excellent on that. London Naval Treaty. That's just saying that, hey, we're engaged in the London Naval Treaty. We'll lose some dissent if we had any. We'll also gain some unity, which is good. There'll be I know there's some decisions and events that happen down the road. The 262 coup attempt on Japan, for example, will cause a five hit to dissent there. But there'll be some other events like this and others. And some decisions that will lower your dissent. So I need to remember, once that riot occurs, I just need to leave things as they are, and eventually I'll see that go away. But that's pretty handy to see here. Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. There is a strategic effect that occurs in the game. The more puppets Japan has, and specific puppets, you'll see here that there's about almost a dozen different countries that can be puppeted by Japan. But the more puppets they have, the more bonuses they get. It's the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. And I think there's 4 different levels of it. The initial, I believe, is 2. You need at least 2 puppets, and then it goes up by 1 for each level after that to get better and better bonuses. And the puppets that we'll see here, some of these will actually be done in game. Korea, I'm going to leave as is. I'm not going to puppet them. I like to get the strategic resources directly, and already have garrisons here, so quite honestly, I don't need to see them as a puppet. Manchukuo is pretty large, though. I don't want to garrison this country at all, so I'll leave them as a puppet. Menjiang, which will be a country that'll appear here. Puppet will appear here and actually get some of this territory as well once I start conquering it. I do puppet them as well, because same as Manchukuo, I don't want to have to staff this area with any garrisons. The Republic of China, Nanjing, that'll be this area here. Once we conquer China, and its associated countries around, there'll be an option that'll have to just either take China, puppet, or various other aspects. I choose the more historical request, which is that we get all the coastal region of China, which is really where a lot of the IC, the industrial might and resources, are housed. Now, there's quite a bit too in the interior, but I'll puppet Nat China here, and that'll become the Republic of China, Nanjiang. Siam, I think typically I don't puppet them. I used to, but I kind of switch it over to saying that I control Siam, so that way I can pump in supplies here a lot easier once I start going against Burma and down into the UK peninsula here. So I won't be worrying so much about that. India, I haven't really played a 10.4 campaign where I've gotten into India yet, so I don't know how good how much better the India puppet situation is. Previous versions, 10.33, for example, the most recent that I played, where I got into India, the puppeting aspect just didn't seem to work very well. So I probably won't puppet them. Burma, though, I will go ahead and puppet Burma. Indochina, Indonesia, I shan't be puppeting, but the Philippines, I will go ahead and puppet them as well too. I'll probably have some forces here, perhaps, but I prefer to have them go ahead and defend their island nation themselves. So that'll give me a grand total one, two, three, four, and five nations that I'll go ahead and puppet, which I believe is what is needed to get to the highest level. In fact, you can see here you have the more that bonuses events you have, up to 5 nations. So even if you puppeted all of these, it still won't get any better than if you had just 5 of these countries puppeted. But nonetheless, in a long way of speaking, I do have some future plans. We will be puppeting a couple of these countries here. And in fact, once we start going into China here and conquering, these 2 countries, I do go ahead and just outright conquer. They'll become Menjiang down the road. Zibi San Ma, I go ahead and puppet them. Uh, Puppet Republic of China, Yunnan, and Gengsi Click. I go ahead and conquer those outright because most of Gengsi Click will be part of that Chinese coastal area that's given to me. Yunnan don't really need. There's really nothing much there. Eventually, too, there'll be some. Once we're done with China, there'll be some events to allow Japan to continue its warlike nature. Tibet will be one of the next countries that can be attacked, declared, to keep the war rolling, and I'll go ahead and utilize. Xinjiang will be the next one after that once Tibet is conquered. I've never really taken that opportunity, but I will in this playthrough. I want to keep my warlike stance going, so in my production queue, I will have a little minimum need of consumer goods. In fact, we need to lower that down a little bit there. There we go. I'll have a minimal need of consumer goods, and I can put everything towards production. The longer I keep at war, so long as I'm not losing a lot of manpower and a lot of resources doing so, supplies, the better, because then I can keep cranking out the builds that I need to, which we'll talk about further down the road here. But for America, that requires a lot of naval resources, carriers, CAG units, some bombers, a lot of battle wagon fleets, battleships, battle cruisers, heavy cruisers, destroyers, things of that kind of nature. I do see I need to kind of lower this a bit here, though I don't think that'll matter too much. I think all this is going to get kind of wiped a bit. Your IC fluctuates, same as your leadership. Leadership not quite so much, but everything kind of fluctuates a little bit based upon what laws you have in place, who's in charge in your politics window, what events have happened, things of that kind of nature. You can see we have a couple of malices here because of certain things that we've chosen, like the being a bookworm. We have a -2% to our IC. For leadership, though, I don't think it's going to show it here. But it will show it here, or should. Yeah, childhood bookworm. We have a 4% leadership increase there. We'll get to this here momentarily. Again, I want to, once I hit 50 in diplomatic influence, then I'm going to go ahead and kill that quite a bit here. So we'll need to keep an eye on how things are going. Taking care of the other 2 decisions for this day, the government secretary focus. I tend to stick with organization, the War Ministry. All these have a 60% chance of giving a negative aspect, a malice. Though you see there, that one, the parliamentary issues, we actually see a lowered national revolt risk. It's just the daily dissent and ruling party support see some negatives. If you were to say not now or never, not now we'd give you for the year a daily dissent hit. Never would always keep that daily dissent and a national revolt risk going. So I do want to select something, excuse me, just because there is a chance, 40% chance of a bonus. Now, for the most part, I don't care too much about any of these things here. But since this only lasts for about 6 months or so, what's not going to hurt me the most is probably going to be the reorganization of the War Ministry. We don't care about unit recruit time so much. The 1.5% hit just isn't that big of a hit, really. That might mean a day or 3, depending upon what I'm building. The organization hit, not a big deal either. But everything else here, Daily descent, I don't want to see that. Extra revolt risks, don't want to see that. Um, the negative supplies and money, that's a little bit of it hurts a little bit. Um, and there as well, that daily descent, that kind of hurts. So I think the reorganization is what I typically choose. I could just try to roll the dice, as it were, and get that plus 15% money, and hope that I do get it. If I don't, a 5% money hit, not that big of a deal. Currently, right now, that would lose me about $1 a day. So that might not be too big of a deal. Whereas a 15% money bonus actually would give me about $4. Yeah, about $4 or so extra a day. So I think we'll go ahead and select this for right now and just hope we get that 15%. We can find out if we did get it. If we see an event that says nationalization of the private sector in money, we know we didn't get it, and we didn't. Nationalization of the private sector, it's a minus 5%, so we did not get it. But that's okay. We'll try to sway that by some additional better trades. Um, and then this one, handling the Zapatus. Let me say, I'm going to badly mangle pronunciations for everything. This is Japan over Asia. None of this is English Orient in regards to its language. So, and I don't know Japanese at all. I actually am even pretty poor in regards to English speaking too. So if I say anything poorly, I apologize. Feel free to correct my pronunciations in comments. More than happy to learn the correct way of saying things, but for now, this is the way that I am. Handling Zapdos, this provides some bonuses to IC and money. We can say we support or challenge them and get a 5% IC boost. Where the flip side is we get a negative, in this case, money or ruling party support. Probably would choose that because I won't be too distressed with seeing the party support lower down in about a year, I think. The Japanese party, they have like an election or something like that, and the Japanese party changes entirely. So that's not that big of a deal in regards to that negative. We can say let them be, where we get no bonuses, we also get no negatives. We can nationalize or militarize them, where previously we were only getting a 5% bonus. Here we're getting a 10% IC bonus. The nationalize would also see a doubling in the money loss, and well, also be seeing a resource loss too. So nationalizing, you get more IC, but you lose a lot more money and resources. Militarizing them, you still have a money loss like you would supporting them, but we would be seeing consumer goods hit during wartime or during peacetime, and a bonus during wartime. In this case here, I'm probably just going to take the least of the bonuses and malices and just choose the challenge. So we get a 5% IC bonus, but the negative is not terrible. Let's see what we've got going on here. We got units of poor supply. That's because we got some ships moving around. No big deal. That'll straighten out. Fuel's gonna be empty in 23 days. Are we selling? No, we're actually importing metal, so that's good. We're using a lot of fuel. That this is going to go away because everything is going to kind of settle down. All our planes have already finished moving. My fleet is still, you can see they're still moving around. So that's a lot of fuel that's going to be used. My land units are also still moving. So once my fleet at least settles down, the fuel loss here is just going to be the amount used is going to be lowered quite dramatically. Probably using about a third of that once my or quarter actually once my navy starts moving around. Let's see if we have any decisions. We don't. Again, the seaport road and airport networks, I don't select those. I don't buy those until war has started, because if you do, there's an IC negative, a malice that occurs for about 3 months here, February, March, April. Yeah, about 3 months of 5%. Not that big of a deal. But I can stack these. And in fact, as Germany, I'm kind of a master of it, where I'll be building like 5 or 6 levels of seaports, roads, and airports by the time war with Poland kicks off. And that way, you only get that, as far as I can tell, you only get that malice once. It doesn't stack on. If I were to buy it now, I'd see that 5% loss that I see for the next 3 months. Then the next seaport level, if I bought it again, that'd be another IC loss. So it's just better to kind of wait on these. The railroad I do buy though, because even though it does have a similar IC loss, I think. Which one is it here? We can tell. Pre-war level rail is negative 2.5, so it's on par with the road at 2.5. I do buy the railroad level bonus because that does give a bonus to IC efficiency, which again, we have a malice because of something we've chosen. So it's good to have something to balance that, to outweigh that. So I do buy the railroad that, even though I do have a negative 2.5% IC hit, it's not all that big, but it does provide IC efficiency, which means things get built a little bit quicker here. So we're good to go. We're going to let the day progress along a little bit further here, speed things up some. And about halfway through the video at this point in time here, we're going to stop it probably in about a couple months here and post that up so I can move on to the next episode. We have the inter-service rivalry. We already selected the annual focus, and we focused on the IJA for their builds. That gave us some negatives in regards to air and naval organization, but it did provide us the ability to get some factories that the Army needs to build quicker. This is just something a little bit extra, which provides you some speed, some actual build speed. Once we're through 36 and 37, because I'll be favoring the IJA both those years, we'll move into 1938, and we're going to focus on the IJN because we'll need to focus on shipyards because we want things to get built quickly, and we'll favor the IJN so we can continue with that naval build speed. As you see, it also provides some air build speed, which is good because you're going to need CAG units as well. But for now, we're going to favor the IGN. We could focus on Air Force, get CAGs built quicker if we need to. We could also say invest equally as an option. So that way, I don't get any bonuses, but I also don't get any negatives too. And that's the thing about a lot of the black ice events and selections, decisions that you have. There are some things that just provide straight outright bonuses to you, and there's other things that provide you a equal measure of bonuses and malices. So you kind of have to pick and choose, what you want, and try not to hurt yourself quite so much there. But we're favoring the IJA this year, and we'll let things kind of move along a little bit further here. So we're now going to be moving into day 3. There we go. Germany's launched the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. We have a fascist militia brigade that can be built here. We can say activate this unit. I don't think there's nothing good or bad according to this here. So a freebie militia unit is a freebie militia unit. We've got to find out where that gets created. Possibly there. Creation of battle commanders. We're going to be using battle commanders. I'll show how I like to use mine based upon what another YouTube personality has demonstrated, and I've kind of learned from him. So that's good. Revolts. Let's see here. What all do we have? There we go. Revolts we do want. They can get very annoying for sure, and maybe not quite so historical in how they act. For example, if you select that you want revolts as the United States, you'll see revolts appear, and all you do is you move a unit into that province where there's, say, 10,000 guys sitting revolting, and those guys just melt away. You don't lose anything; they don't lose anything. So in some cases, just annoying, but in other cases, especially in later campaign against China, there'll be some revolts where the Chinese will have some pretty strong partisan units that I'll need to move in and grind down. That'll give me some experience for those units that are attacking, typically the garrison, but nonetheless, I'll have other units that are on the mainland fighting that will attack some partisans and other bad guys. But also too, when the revolts occur, that you lose that province that those units appear in, and those units, some cases, will actually move around and take more provinces. This could impact your supply line, and I find that it's fairly handy, realistic. When I go into China, I'll need to make sure that I've got sufficient forces to protect my rear supply lines here, because all my supply comes in through ports, and that's why I'll be doing a port hopping campaign with my Marines. But all my supply comes in via ports. If a revolt occurs and they take out that port, I can't have supply going in there, and then that can start choking my frontline units a bit and causing some problems. So this keeps me on my toes, makes the game a little more difficult. Like I said, they're annoying at best, realistically, but there are some aspects I've seen where the partisans can provide a little bit of an impact to your play. So yes, we want those. Japan historical buildup. I think this not only provides the Yamato and Musashi, two super battleships that Japan historically built in the war. One, the Yamato, actually got sunk in a bombing campaign, but it did partake in some naval campaigns. The Musashi, not sure that on what happened to that ship. But I think this also fills my production queue with an appropriate naval fleet as well, waiting to be built. So we'll see what happens after we select that here. And then we got the future of Manchuria. That's Manchukuo here. I would like to prefer to keep them as my puppets, and as such, we do the continue the Manchurian project. We could take it over where this will then become this color here, and then I'll have to actually garrison Manchuria, which not a big deal. I'm going to go with a historical game here, which means I'm not going to go to war, full war with Russia. Though, as we'll see, there's some events that'll have me actually attacking Russia. We could select that, but in all honesty, we want to continue the Manchurian project because we'll get some pretty cool benefits out of it. My transports are still moving along there. Got to remember, I have to move my one garrison unit that's making its way slowly to there. I need to move my garrison unit up to there, and that's why that fleet is moving where it is. I have another transport fleet that's going to drop off. Well, I thought they were actually carrying somebody. Were they not? Did I mess that up? Yeah, I think I might have. Yeah, these units were supposed to have been going there. Let's have them rebase, go back, pick up those units, and then have them go ahead and drop them off there appropriately. Alrighty, do we have any decisions? We do not. We do have some laws. We're at 200. Let's see if there's any laws that I can really change. Nothing here. We'd love to change the civil laws because we could use some of the bonuses provided here. We already have a 6 months draft in place. Full civilian economy. We want to move into basic mobilization and full mobilization as well, but that requires my neutrality to be lowered a bit. So we got to wait on that some. We'll leave the education investment alone, even though that's negative to the money. That does provide a good leadership modifier and officer recruitment. We're going along pretty good. We're down to 63 now. There's I think the 6 month draft malice that impacted my officers. Like I said, I think we're at 70, and I figured it'd be about 65 or 60. I think I was saying when it dropped down there. Consumer product orientation, we could go up to mixed industry, get not as much money, but lose the IC malice. Units would get recruited a little bit quicker. We'd also gain an IC efficiency, but we'd have to put more towards consumer goods here during the wartime. So I think we'll hold off on this here. I'm not going to worry about that. State press, we could lower it down to free press. Let's see here. We get a bunch more money, but we would. Oh, that's for wartime. Yeah, that'd be the major change. National unity would see a 10% hit here, where we're getting a 5% bonus. But we also gain research efficiency, but we also lose. We'll leave it on state press. We like where it's at. Volunteer army, yeah, no changes. So we're good to go. Let's speed up just a little bit. We have a armaments. This is the event that I was talking about. Still, the production queue is empty, but I believe this kicks off an event that fills my production queue for me. Yeah, the Soryu and Hiryu aircraft carriers. There's a couple of heavy cruisers. Um, Submarines get built. The Zuiho, some destroyers, torpedo boats. So yeah, we'll say yes on that. Personality effects. This isn't going to affect me directly per se. I don't know if it'll have any effect on the AI, but when I'm playing as Germany, I like to say yes to this because I like to see Hitler kind of act like an idiot in my game. He does provide a couple of bonus depending upon your die roll. There's a random bonus to one thing or another. There's also some negatives associated with this as well. I'm not sure what happens when you're playing as Russia and Stalin starts doing things. Probably something similar, I'd imagine. But I like to say yes, just to see, kind of what happens there. Going to save the game real quick here. Okay, and we're going to advance a little bit here. There we go. Now we're into the meat of things, and I actually want to start filling out my production queue here pretty soon. Japanese OB, Order of Battle events. So saying yes, get access to the historical HQ, divisions, and brigades of the Japanese forces at cost of supplies and IC penalties. This will be a new thing in 10.4, where I mentioned earlier. Used to be in 10.33 and earlier. The event would spawn the unit into your production queue, and you'd have to build it yourself. This new change actually puts the unit on the map and assigns a malus, a negative, to your IC, and you lose some supplies uh, for a period of time. The cool thing is the way this now works, instead of having to spend X amount of IC and resource and things like that, you're losing some supplies, which you can spend IC for. You don't lose any resources because the unit's already built. All your resources are going to IC, and you can use the IC then to actually build other things because the unit that's from this OOB is already on the map. You do lose. You have an IC penalty, so you do lose some IC, but the penalty, the amount of IC that you lose based on the penalty, is less than the amount of IC you would have spent in building the unit. So this actually helps out a bit more in getting units, and plus you get units immediately. So this can be kind of handy in regards to getting ready for conflict, whatnot. And the overall reduction in cost helps you out a lot. So we'll say yes on this. You see, there's a negative to my IC and officer recruitment. Plus, I lose supplies as well. That is going to stay in effect until 1944. Not played beyond 1944 in the 10.4 mod at this point, so I don't know what happens at that point. Does that just simply go away and I regain those things I lost? Also lose the organization regain, or does a new event pop up? I'm not sure. We'll find out then. We could say no thanks and handle builds ourselves. You're certainly free to do that in your game. And you see there's some bonuses there as well as a negative that lasts for a while. But I like this. I like the new OB events the way they work. We're going to go ahead and save again, and we'll check our decisions. Nothing new in there. I see that fuel is going to be empty pretty quickly, but my fleet's going to be stop moving around here pretty soon, so that's all right. We need to set our consumer goods to even. Supplies are going up. Well, 453 right now. We probably need to go through a couple days to kind of see what the plus and minus is, and then average that out on a daily basis. But let's say 453. We'll check tomorrow. I do want to lower my reinforcements a bit more. Get close to 10. Same thing with the upgrades. Get close to 10. Once we get to an appropriate point here, and over time, then we'll start evening these out, so I'm not spending too much on reinforcements and upgrades exactly. We're also going to put a bunch of our IC from our supplies to production here very soon, but for right now, we're going to leave things the way they are. Here's that event that popped in all of my units. There's a Soryu, Hiryu, and Zuiyu, plus their associated CAG units. Those two have two CAG units. He only has the one because light cruisers only get one. Regular carriers, rather, light carriers get only one CAG unit. Regular carrier units get two CAG units. Then I said, like with the open hangar, I believe there later on you get to see an extra one added to those that have the open hangars. And there's a bunch of other ships that can get built. For right now, though, we're not going to worry about the those builds here. We are moving along pretty smoothly. We're going to move him onto the fleet here, and he is going to get transported to that island there. That's what I was intending on doing, and somehow messed that up. In any event, that's going to go the way I want it to finally. I do want to take a look at my unit. We have 3 brigades. I already have an anti-aircraft engineer. I want to make him a marine unit, so I need to put 4 brigades together that aren't going to have an anti-aircraft and engineer. So let's start with that first. We'll go division, SNLF. We don't need the anti-aircraft. We don't need the engineer. We could leave it as it is right here. That's actually that's the fairly standard Marine division. Has a Marine brigade, pack artillery, and the horse transport. You can see we also have the light vehicle and truck transport in here. I would have to double check and see, but I think there's a couple. I think there's an artillery, 1 or 2 artillery units thrown in there. I think the mix support is new in here as well too, because of previous decisions made. There may be some other, maybe the infantry semi-motorized. I'm not sure. There may be some others that are also new in here that wasn't before in the first day or two. In any event, we're going to go ahead and build this guy as is. We're going to push him to the forefront. And also for my builds, I like to have 10 light infantry units that are pretty speedy. The specialized light infantry move at speed 5. So I want to go ahead and make 10 of these guys for my future battles in China and also later in Burma and India. So I like to build 5 in parallel, and then once those are done, then a second serial group of 5 will pop in. We'll remove the infantry regiment. They move at speed 4. We're going to put the specialized light infantry. They move at speed 5. We're going to take a look here and see. We're still moving at an average of speed of 4. So what can we remove here that'll speed things up? The recon cav moves at 5. The division headquarters moves at 9, so that's fine. We can get rid of the horse transport and put in truck transport. Let's see. Engineers, I think, only move at 4. Let's get rid of the engineer. So we're at 4.5 now. Let's see. The mix support also moves at 4, so if we get rid of them, now we move at 5. Yeah, artillery moves at 5, so we're good there. Now we need to put in 2 other brigades that'll be fairly speedy and get us kind of going here. Let's see, if we do a light armor battalion, that'll give us some toughness and defensiveness, quite a bit actually. And if we put in a motorized infantry battalion, again, they'll keep our speed at 5. This will give us even more defensiveness and toughness as well. Yep, there we go. Fairly expensive. That's because of the light armor and motorized infantry battalions that I tacked on there. I'm not going to be building, even though I've got a lot of IC now, that's going to be going away pretty quickly here. Some manpower hit, not a big deal, but the IC, I'm probably going to be building maybe 1 at a time, maybe. But let's get those going here at this point. 22.78 each. I want my Marine done first, though, I think. Or can we hold off on that? Yeah, I think if we put our... We'll see. I'll wait and see how this filters down here. I may just want to have my Marines going first, even though it's going to be not until February before they're finally built. It's if I can get one of these guys built, then that's September, and then I can start working on something else real quickly too. we'll leave this as is for right now, though there's something else I need to do. Yes, I have 3 armor divisions that are built like this, where they have a light armor battalion, armored car, and division headquarters. I want to kind of build them up a bit more. They can be. I could use these as just simply scouting type units, where they're just moving around and kind of seeing what's what fairly quickly too. But I think I want to add on more brigades to help um, increase their overall combat effectiveness. So we need to build 3 divisions. Oh, let me double check on what we don't need. I don't need a division headquarters, and I don't need a scout unit. Okay. So don't need a scout and don't need a headquarters unit. So let's go to armored division. Again, we don't need that. And we don't need that. So if I keep this going, this is 5.85. I can attach it to my guys already move at 7, and it'll slow them down a bit, but they're not going to go any slower than 5.85. If there's anything quicker though, I don't have motorized support, so that or armored engineers, so that's a moot point. Okay, so the light armor alone is moving at the 5.85. Actually, it's probably moving a little bit quicker than that. Or 5, because that's right, I have truck transport. What else do we want to put here? Need to beef them up a little bit so they have a little bit of extra oomph and attack power here. Could throw a motorized infantry battalion onto them. That way they get some toughness and defensiveness added to them. Still staying at 5.85. And one more. We could do anti-aircraft or anti-tank. Probably don't need anti-tank. I mean, the extra heart attack is really, really nice. Don't think that's necessarily needed. But you know what? Let's just do the anti-tank anyway. Okay. And here, we just need 3 of these guys built. Okay. They won't get done until December here. So we'll worry about. I'll worry about who's gonna get built first. I'll figure that out momentarily here. Okay, so we've moved in a little bit further. Let's get to the halfway through the day. We want to save, and I think I'm going to go ahead and call it my second episode at this point in time here. I've gone a little over 45 minutes. Don't want to bore everybody too much overall. There's still a bit more that needs to be done in regards to getting ready for my attacks here onto China. I've gotten over 50 on my diplomatic influence. I need to get into my technology queue and lower that, but I'll do that next episode. So there's a few things I need to get ready and do. But for right now, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Please provide some comments on regards to my tactics, my choices, decisions that I've selected. If you have any input that you'd like to provide, questions, I'd be happy to answer. And I'll see you guys next episode.